So now we're going to run through our water fed system, how to set it up and how to use it. We use this all day, every day. It's really great to lower our liability, keeps us off ladders, and it does a really good job cleaning spot-free windows. It's also really good for commercial stuff. So this isn't very high, but on the back of this building, there's some really tall windows. So with this and with the pole setup, we have availability to get up to 6 stories safely from the ground. All right, so we're briefly going to go through all the items that we have here, and then we'll show you how to put it together and then actually how to use the system. So we have just a standard garden hose. We have the water filtration system. We have the water fed hose, which is a smaller diameter hose. We have the pole, we have the brush, and because this is a commercial job, we have some hazard cones just to lay over the hoses and whatnot, so pedestrians don't trip over the hoses. So starting out on commercial property, find the water spigot. Typically with commercial spigots, you have to have a special key to turn the water on. So every truck and toolbox should have one of these commercial water keys. What I like to do is run it real quick just to make sure there's nothing weird. Sometimes bugs and dirt and stuff will get in there, so just run it real fast. We'll hook the hose up, and then we will hook up the system. I'm gonna set it out in an area that's not, people aren't gonna trip on it, just on the edge of the sidewalk here. This is the discharge hose. We'll set that out into the grass. Take the hose again, running it over sidewalk. In fact, I'm gonna move this over here. This is clearly some sort of like decorative grass, so I'm gonna try not to get too much stuff in there. We just connect the garden hose to the inlet of the water fed. After that, we'll take the water fed hose, which has this garden hose connection, hook it up to the outlet of the system. We'll reel this out. I like to kind of reel it out kind of in the direction that we'll be working, about halfway. And we'll come back this direction. So it's just kind of nice to spread out so we don't get all tangled up. Set that off to the side. These cones over here. All right, and then you've got the pole and the brush. Sometimes, especially when we're doing houses, we'll have an attachment on the back of this that will have an abrasive to clean really dirty windows. Just normal commercial windows don't require it. We clean these buildings on a regular basis, so we'll be good. We're gonna get the adjustment right here. It should have a nice easy lever, but apparently this one doesn't have one for some reason. What we want to do is make sure that the angle is right to where the brush is perfectly perpendicular to the glass. So we don't want it real steep like that or real steep the other way. That way we get a nice good scrub with those bristles right on the glass. Let's get our hose connected to the brush. This is personal preference. It can either be outside the pole or you can actually fish it through the pole. I prefer it on the outside. I just think it's easier to manage. And then we'll go ahead and turn the water on. Turn it on all the way to get as much flow through the system as possible. You'll hear it start filling up. Make sure there's no kinks in the line. Okay, this is the most important part, is checking the total dissolved solids, the TDS, out of the water. So this is our TDS meter. We're going to test the discharge hose. Okay, so that's more like it. 570 parts per million. It's just measuring the amount of minerals that are in the water. And what those minerals will do, if you've ever sprayed a window with like a garden hose and then let it dry, there's all those spots, right? That's the minerals drying on the glass. So that's what we're trying to remove. That's what this whole system is for. So come over here and test the water coming out of our brush. Rinse this out. Sometimes it'll start a little high. So we're at 16. It'll work its way down. Eventually, as this system runs, so now it's at 14. So sometimes it takes 10, 15 minutes to get all the way down to 0. Anything less than 20 is decent. Anything less than 10 is good. But ideally, we want it at 0. So now we've got all that set up, we'll talk about actually cleaning the glass. Extend the pole from the top and work our way up. These are kind of unique windows, so I'll just do my best with this one. The whole point of this system is just like a scrubber and a squeegee, where you're scrubbing the window, you're getting the dirt off the glass and into the water or into the solution, and then you're removing that dirty water from the glass. So the removing part, think of the scrubbing as your mop, and you're rinsing this step as your squeegee. So you're removing the dirty water from the glass. A crucial step to this is, obviously we want to give it plenty of scrub, but really the rinsing is where we get the final results. If you scrub it really, really good, but you fly through the rinsing part, it's not going to look good. You're not going to get all that dirty water off. Another part is we always like to start at the top and work as far over as reasonable, and then come back down to the next window over. That way it gives this, see how that's still dripping? It gives that time to drip. So we'll move over to this next window. That's at the same height. And this one's a little easier to train on. So I like to, your top edge is always going to be the dirtiest. So I like to go side to side and then do small scrubs along the top. Make sure you're getting into the corners as good as possible. I'm putting medium to high pressure on this, really give it some good elbow grease. I like to go side to side on the bottom a few times, make sure we're getting in those corners. And then we'll just go up and down the whole window, trying to cover everything 2 to 3 times, depending on the grime. So these are going to take less scrubbing than if it was a really dirty window. We might scrub it 4 or 5 times if it's really gnarly. This one isn't. Go one more time over the top, and then we'll pull away from the glass, and we'll get those jets of water just right up to the top frame. We don't want to be spraying way up here, getting all the dirt from the frame and the siding all up on the glass, just right up to that frame. And these are rinsing really nice. Oftentimes commercial windows do not rinse this well, so it takes a little bit more time, but when they're rinsing this well and it's really sheeting down the glass, you can move fairly fast with the rinsing process. So I'll go across the top, I'm getting a little bit on the frame just to get if there's any cobwebs or dirt on the frame, getting that a little bit. Putting decent pressure on this, working across the top, getting into the corners, across the bottom a couple of times, and then just nice and slow, putting decent pressure on it. And watching for stubborn spots. So, you know, if there's a little bird poop on there or something weird, some sort of stubborn spot, you spend a little bit more time on it. Just kind of keep your eye on it. Go back over it once more. And then I'm always take a little bit extra time across that top edge. I'll usually go across that top edge 2 or 3, 4 times, because that's always where you'll always get the dirty drips from that top edge. And then just nice and easy, work your way down. And if you just follow that process, you should have a perfect window. That's how you clean windows with a water fed system.